Drizzy and T-Money blasting off the map. Mic check one, we igniting the chat. Big thoughts, big laughs, real talk on tap. From the stars to your ears, it's a certified slap. We break limits, no rules, no fear. Dropping gems every week, loud and clear. Vibes interstellar, mind so clever. Tune in once, you'll be hooked forever. This the blast off, where the wisdom collide. Rocket fuel flow, let the convo ride. From the cosmos down to the city stride. Every episode another joyride. Catch the wave, let the banter take flight. Brainstorm sparking through the depths of night. Underdogs talking, put the world in sight. All killer, no filler, just truth in the mic. Zone out, let the speakers combust. In a convo with hosts you can trust. Groundbreaking spins, no fine gold dust. It's a must, turn us up, adjust. This the blast off, where the wisdom collide. Rocket fuel flow, let the convo ride. From the cosmos down to the city stride. Every episode another joyride.
Don't sneeze on me.
Sorry, T-Money.
Get the hell out of here, Drizzy.
Okay. Welcome back to Don't Sneeze on Me, the podcast where the vibes are off and so are the lights.
And today we're talking ghosts, spirits, the paranormal, your grandmother's haunted basement, all the weird stuff in your life. But before we jump into that, let's do a little recap from last week if you're just tuning in now, which we do appreciate. Every single time you guys tune into us, we always appreciate that. And as we said, we read your comments. And I like to say that at least Drizzy and myself know that our childhoods were just as messed up as yours.
We heard some very interesting stories, so thank you all for sharing.
Especially Jeff from Georgia. I'm sorry you grew up that way, but it was funny.
That was definitely a really good submission. So thank you for being vulnerable as well, Jeff. You shared quite a bit of detail in that.
Yeah, a little bit too much detail, but it's all good. So what today we're going to talk about is a little bit of those freaky stories that you guys experienced. You know, everyone has them. Everyone's heard them. Some happen to be with your kids now, and some happen to be when you were a kid. So, Drizzy, anything that comes to mind that maybe gave you those heebie-jeebies?
Oh, so many. So many. The spooky, the paranormal, the ghosties, all of them. This is something I really enjoy talking about. If you know me, then you know I love the paranormal. I love talking ghost stories. I definitely lived in some houses that were super creepy and had some very interesting experiences.
Oh yeah, you told me a couple that I was like, wow. I was like, I thought I had some stories that gave me the goosebumps, but yours were a little over the top.
I do have one. It's my very first memory of any like strange or weird experiences.
All right, let's get the Ouija board out so we can see if your stories holds true.
I must have been about 5 or 6 years old, and I remember this very, very vividly. I hadn't gone to bed yet. I had just gotten settled into bed, and I remember that day my mom had gotten me this brand new flower dress that I was just obsessed with, and it was hanging on my closet door. And typically I slept with the closet door closed, but because it was on the handle,
you gotta make sure the monsters don't come in.
Right. So this night the closet door was open, and I'm laying in bed, and I just see very, very clearly this young boy, he was about my age at the time, walking out of the closet towards me.
Ooh.
And he didn't
towards you?
Towards me.
Ooh, that's weird.
And it wasn't a big room. It was a smaller bedroom, probably like 8 by 10 maybe, so a very small room. But he was walking out of the closet towards my bed. No emotion on his face, no real expression, just kind of looking at me.
I would have been out of that bedroom so fast.
My mom's room was right across the hallway, so I just remember sitting up and seeing him and kind of being frozen for a few seconds, like, is this real? What's going on? Kind of, trying to get my bearings, and then realizing like this is coming towards me. And I remember screaming and my mom running in. And this is something that we still talk about to this day because it's something that's just so vivid to me.
Oh yeah, there's always those stories that just stick out to you.
Yeah.
And I think as a kid, they resonate with you a little bit more
Yeah.
because I don't know, something about kids. It's that their stories is it's like, you understand that you have an imagination, but some of those stories it's like, yeah, you didn't imagine that.
Well, they also say kids are more sensitive
Oh
to
yeah.
that sort of stuff, which is so interesting because I felt like as a kid I had a lot of experiences, but I feel like my kids have none. They really haven't had anything.
Or maybe they had them, they just don't share them.
Maybe, but I mean, really though, like I used to share all that stuff with my mom because it'd be like weird what was
Yeah.
going on. But
I
yeah,
remember I remember my parents' house. My parents' house wasn't a scary house, but it definitely was a house that I don't know, something was there. I remember for a birthday, I got one of those Garfield clocks with like the tail that wagged. It was like the seconds on the bottom.
I had one of those growing up.
Yeah, yeah, it was a cool gift, and I really liked it. Honestly, I was like, but I don't know where I hung it in the room. And that part of the room, something always felt off about that part of the room. I was like not like something happened there, but like maybe there was like a spirit that like kind of hung out in that area. And I remember one time I stopped the Garfield tail because I don't know what I was doing. I don't know if I was changing the batteries or I was doing something, but I remember I stopped it. And when I came back into the room, not that long after, the tail was moving again. And I was like, okay, so I remember I proved it to myself because I stopped it and I watched it actually start up again. Like it's like something was like over there pushing it. Like I said, it just something felt off about this corner. Just wasn't right. I mean, I know that's not the scariest story, but when you're a young kid and you can just feel stuff. Something just feels different. And just watching that, I remember, like I said, my parents' house. It wasn't a scary house, but there definitely was a presence there.
Was it the house or the clock?
It might have been both. I mean, I said, the just knowing I think it had to be the house. I mean, because I mean, I remember just being in bed at sometimes, and I'm sure you felt this before because we shared some stories when we were prepping for the show. But do you ever feel like when you're in your bed and like you're about to fall asleep, like you either feel something bump into it or
Oh,
like the pressure on the bed changes?
yes.
I like in my current house, I've never felt that. But in my parents' house, I felt that more than once. And I don't know what it was. It was like you just know it. Like you're about to fall asleep or you're laying there and nobody else is in the room. Like your dog's not there, your cat's not there, whatever. But the bed shakes or you feel the pressure change and you're like, wait, what the hell happened? I felt that in my parents' house on more than one occasion.
Oh, it's so unnerving too because you're the only person in that space. There's nothing that could have caused
Oh,
it.
absolutely. And
Yeah.
that's what freaks you out because you're like, what was it at an earthquake? I mean,
Well, it's happened to me one time. One time it was shortly after I had my daughter, and I'm laying in bed, and I could feel someone sit on the bed. And mind you, it wasn't pitch black in the room. I was the only one there. This was pre-cats.
yeah.
Um, but something very clearly sat on the bed. I looked over. There was an imprint. It only happened once, only one time, but it was extremely unnerving in that moment.
Well, because you just don't know what it is. Like it's and like even if it's not something that feels like dangerous or scary or something like that, it's knowing that whatever's happening, you can't justify it in your head. Like your brain can't work around what's going on here.
It's
I th-
unexplainable.
yeah. And I think that's what, why it bothers you so much. I mean, I said I had a couple stories or a couple instances. I said I will go back to my parents' house. I said something about that house is just it didn't feel evil, but it just didn't feel like it wanted to be there. Like it was like trying to move on, but it just was stuck. I mean, I've seen plenty of those ghost stories where they say like sometimes you're stuck. I mean, Beetlejuice,
Yeah,
for
you're
God's
just
sakes,
stuck in a loop.
you're stuck in a place
Oh, that yeah,
for the rest
the
of your
little
life.
town, the
Yeah,
small
exactly.
town.
You can't leave the house. But so I'll share a little bit about me. So Drizzy knows this. My mother passed away in 2019. And it was a very unexpected passing, but hey, listen, I understand. I'm not looking for like sympathy here. I'm doing a something that happened after she passed. So one night I am sleeping in or I'm getting ready to fall asleep in my bedroom at my parents' house. And like everybody else, some it's like a warmer evening and sometimes you sleep with that like that one leg outside the covers or something like that. Everybody does that. and I was like on the edge of falling asleep. And I'm just like, but I'm still conscious enough to know what's going on because I think I was just thinking, and I distinctly remember 5 fingers grabbing my calf, and I mean grabbing my calf in such a way that it didn't feel friendly. It felt aggressive, and when I tell you, I popped up out of bed so freaking fast because I knew for a fact I was the only one in that bedroom. I mean, the door was closed. The dog wasn't in bed. But I mean, this grabbed me. And I said, I'm not going to say that was my mom because I would hope that my mom wouldn't be aggressive towards me. But I mean, I don't know what that could have been. If it wasn't her, then whatever it was letting me.
Something was there.
Oh, yeah. Was letting me know that it's there. And I don't care what anybody says. I have not slept with my leg outside the covers since that day because it freaked me out that badly.
Well, I won't do that anyway. So you're a brave soul to start with.
Well, and the monsters come out from underneath the bed if anything's hanging off the mattress. So.
Yes, they do. They love to grab your ankles.
That one really scared me. And I said, I'm trying to say, I don't think it was my mom, but I don't know what happens when you die. Maybe she was figuring things out and she just went a little too hard one time. But I remember saying, I was like, Mom, if that was you, listen, not cool. I'm not feeling that right now, but I appreciate you're here. But yeah, a little lighter on the calf, or if you're gonna go that heavy, at least go on my back a little bit. I mean, give me a massage or something.
Massage, make it
exactly.
nice.
Oh yeah,
make it a welcome.
Exactly.
There was this one house that, oh man, I talk to my mom about this all the time. We talked to her last night briefly about it. This one apartment that we lived in. And we were on the first floor of it, and we had a basement that we shared with the landlords who lived upstairs.
Yeah.
And from the first few days that we lived here, like we all felt something that was very, very off. I was young. I was probably about 11 or 12. My older brother is a few years older than me. My younger brother was way too young to remember any of this, but I was there with my mom and my stepdad at the time, and my stepdad did not believe in ghosts or spirits or anything like that, ever. Like, adamantly did not believe in them.
See, and those are the people that never get haunted. Like,
yeah, well, no, this apartment changed it for all of us.
Really?
This was the apartment that made us believe.
He was calling the Ghostbusters after a little bit.
We love this apartment. It was absolutely beautiful apartment. It was a great place to live, great location. But after a year, we were out of there. We did not renew. We ran.
Oh yeah,
it was terrifying. So the basement itself it just had this like heavy, dark energy.
I don't understand that about basements sometimes. I mean, like I get that yours was definitely different, but I feel like a lot of basements have that feeling. It's like there's always like it just doesn't.
It's a creepy basement thing.
It just doesn't feel like a happy.
I do have some theories about that. Especially basements that are, below the ground. It's like things that are rooted into the earth, like, connecting with spirits, things like that. And even though the house is new, the spirits are still there. Anyways, I digress. So this apartment, though, I vividly remember one night where I woke up in the middle of the night and all I heard were pots and pans banging in the kitchen, like loud pots and pans.
I'm out already.
Banging in the cabinets.
No, thank you.
And I don't know if this was just like a very particularly like active night or something for whatever was there, but same night.
They always say that 3 a.m. is the witching hour.
Yeah, but this particular night, there was a lot of walking down the hallways, footsteps, things like that. There were this is when like you just had your PCs were just kind of a thing, like, so we had our keyboards in the dining room and you would hear like somebody was typing on the keyboards.
No.
And
Nope.
we all woke up in the morning, and I just remember this day so well because we woke up in the morning and we all kind of looked at each other and was like, was anybody like walking around last night? Was anybody in the kitchen? And we were all kind of confused. And that was the point where we all looked at each other and like, there's something here. There's definitely something here. The basement itself, we would see flashes of light, things like that come out of the back rooms. Just really heavy, heavy, dark feeling in there. My mom didn't even want to go down to the basement. My mom is pretty fearless. It was not a comfortable place. I remember one day I was home alone and I was in the living room. I was on the phone with my friend after school,
Yeah.
and out of the back room, the very back room is our enclosed back porch. I hear this whispering, and it didn't
Nope.
say any words. It wasn't words.
I'm about to leave now.
There were no words. It was just like you could hear a whispering, and then shortly after, the keys on the keyboards started clicking away
no,
again.
thank you.
Just that. Those are just a couple examples of what happened there. There were like endless examples of things that happened in this apartment, and that's why we left after a year. We got out of there.
Yeah, honestly, that's why I don't mess with any of that stuff. I mean, I don't really like, those paranormal movies. I don't like hearing anything about like dolls or anything that like I will tell you a story, and so you may think that I'm a wuss for this story, but believe me, I just don't like dolls. I've never liked dolls. And I don't mean that in, the play fashion. Like my mom, and God rest her soul, she had this doll that was always in my room. And I don't know if she made it or she bought it, but it had these lifeless eyes, these black eyes, like a doll's eyes. If anyone knows Jaws, Okay, I'm trying to throw it out there. Sorry, you gotta go a little.
We
little
just aged
throwback.
ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, this doll, like, it had these blue buttons for eyes, and it's just weird because it always looked like it was staring at you, like no matter what. Like you could never break its eye contact. It was like I felt like its head would like spin around when
Thank you.
when you were behind it. But as I got older and I was living at my parents' house, I decided I wanted a bigger room. So I moved my childhood room to a bigger room. And of course, my mom put this freaking doll in the room that I moved to. I purposely left that room hoping that my mom would leave the doll in there. But no, it followed me. And
Was it your doll?
I don't know. It was like a doll. It looked like Raggedy Ann, but it was like worse. I hate to say it. But she put this thing staring at my bed, like 5 feet from me. And, you can say I'm a wuss. Like the doll never did anything to me. I never really saw it move, but it's like, I just don't like it staring at me. So I voiced my concerns to my parents. I was like, hey, listen, I kind of would like to have this thing removed from my room. It's creeping me out. And my father, Jack, good old Jack, his solution to this was, oh, we'll just put a paper bag over its head, but we're going to leave the doll in your room just with a paper bag over its
Why
head.
not just move it somewhere else? Put it in a closet.
Thank you. That's exactly what I said. I go, now, what you've done here is if the doll wasn't pissed off, it's now pissed off, and who do you think it's going to blame for having a freaking paper bag over its head?
You're just angering the spirits.
Exactly. If it hadn't done anything to me before, it was going to now. I was like, so thanks, Dad. Appreciate the solution there. Really made me feel comfortable that you were listening to my ghostly concerns.
Why didn't you just move the doll?
I don't know. I felt bad because it was. I really do think my mom made it. I feel bad that when my dad moved from that house, that shit went kaboom right in the garbage. I was
Adios.
Yeah, I was like, listen, I'm glad you made this, Mom, but it ain't following me to my house, because if I hear a little foot tapping in my house at night, I'm gonna lose my shit.
It's funny, in my adult years, I haven't had nearly as many paranormal experiences. I'll go back to my childhood, though. After we moved out of that house with the creepy basement, we moved into a new apartment. Gorgeous apartment. Loved it. It was absolutely beautiful. But there was this ladder that was hooked over the top of the roof. It was just a small wooden ladder hooked over the roof. And we didn't really think much of it when we moved in. We're like, oh, okay, maybe they were doing work on the roof, something. I don't know. No big deal. We moved into this beautifully brand new renovated apartment, and it was absolutely gorgeous. But every once in a while, you would hear some footsteps in the hallway.
Man, you guys seem to be like bringing these spirits
Attracting
with you.
it? Yeah.
Yeah. They're just following you around, but like, they thought they could move and get away from us.
Well, shortly after we moved in, you would start to hear some kind of banging on the roof. And it wasn't anything crazy, but it was kind of like a hammer banging on the roof. And it was a pretty consistent noise. And we didn't know if maybe it was a tree branch blowing in the wind, hitting the roof, something. But when I looked, and there was nothing there. Nothing but a wooden ladder hooked over the roof.
Somebody hung themselves from it.
There was nothing malevolent in this house. Like, it wasn't bad like the previous place. So
Yeah.
it wasn't concerning to us, but we just kind of felt like there was kind of something there. Like when I was home alone there, I didn't feel like I was exactly alone.
Alone.
Yeah, no, really. And this was like my older brother and I were teenagers. We had friends over all the time, and they would kind of say the same things. Like, not anything bad. They're just kind of like, felt like someone was kind of just there. But one day my mom and I were taking in the groceries from the garage, and a neighbor from across the alleyway came over and introduced themselves. We had lived there probably like 6 months or so at that point.
Yeah.
And she asked us, do you know what happened to the previous owner of the house? And we
That's
obviously no.
That's never a good way to start a
Never
story.
a good way. Never a good way.
He murdered his wife and 3 kids. It was
Not
incredibly
quite,
sad.
not quite that dramatic. But she informed us that he was doing work on the roof and he fell off the roof and he died. And that's the ladder that he was doing the roof
He
on,
adiosed
the work on. Number one, why would they leave that ladder on the roof?
Maybe it's a memorial to him. We're sorry you fell off our roof, but here's a ladder to remember
you by.
To remember your last.
Maybe his
moments
name
by.
is engraved in the side of it.
Maybe it's a sweet gesture.
You
never know.
Again, the apartment was absolutely gorgeous. It was just a little eerie, but we ended up getting black mold in the ventilation system and had to move anyways. So, again, another short-lived apartment, but that one was a little.
Explains a lot.
Yeah, it does.
Explains a lot, Drizzy.
A little odd, but
I just don't understand. Like I said, I mean, I agree with you. As a child, I feel like I had more experiences than I have as an adult. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I still do not like the dark.
I don't either. Anybody who knows me knows I don't like the dark.
Yeah, I mean, and I think it's worse, not like when the lights go off. I think it's like when I'm like sitting there and all of a sudden like the lights go off during like a storm or something like that, because you're like, oh, okay, I get you. I mean, like I said before, I mean, the 3 a.m. witching hour. I mean, I was infamous for falling asleep on my parents' couch, and I would always, for some reason, I don't know why, I would always wake up around like that 3 a.m. area. And
It's a pretty common time. I mean, even now, if I wake up in the middle of the night, it's around that time. It's around, between 3 and 4 a.m.
But I mean, like I said, I would always hear stuff in my parents' house. Always. I mean, like I was upstairs one time, and I said, it was right after my mom's passing, and I was looking for her grave plot information. And I remember just always hearing down the hallway. I remember it was very vivid, like sounds or motions or things coming from like my parents' bedroom area and stuff like that. I mean, it was like, I said, I'm not saying it was my mom, but I said, it's just this house. There was always like a presence there. I said, I don't know if somebody was, like I said, if somebody was stuck there or not, but I mean, it's, like I said, I don't have it in my current house. My current house doesn't have that. But I mean, I also said when I moved in there, spirits are not welcome here. So, you can knock, but I mean, you have to be invited in. Remember that.
I've heard
that's the rule. You have to invite them in.
Yep, I've heard that that's like a thing.
Just
like you have to establish that.
Just like vampires, you have to invite them in.
Yeah. As an adult, though, there was one place, and it was the first apartment that I moved into after getting separated. So I was there as a single adult with my kids, and when I was home alone, I'd be sitting in the living room, and I would just see kind of like a little like flicker out of the corner of my eye pass by the hallway. And I really didn't think much of it because it would literally be just a quick little flash, a little flicker out of the corner of my eye. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I'm not going to think much of it because literally that's the only thing that's happening. But it had happened for about a year or so. And I was the only person that noticed it or ever experienced it. No. Until one day I had a friend over.
Nope.
I had a friend over. And after probably like 20 minutes of being there, he goes, "Did you see that?"
Nope.
And I said,
I'd be like,
I said, "You saw it?" And he goes, "Yeah, right out of the corner of my eye." I said, "I'm not alone." I said, "There's something here." I knew it. But here's the deal. This apartment was very like welcoming, warm. Like it was not a bad energy, but it was just this strange little like
Well, I
blip
mean,
out of the corner of your eye.
that's what it is. Is like, I mean, just because it's a ghost or a spirit doesn't necessarily mean it's a
It's
bad
not
ghost or a
malevolent.
spirit.
It's just
I said,
there.
in my parents' house, I never felt like it was a bad spirit. I just felt like it was something. There was a presence there. I was
Yeah.
like, that one hand grab.
That's
I felt that
concerning.
was a little too aggressive. I
That's
mean,
definitely
you
concerning.
definitely woke me up out of my sleep doing that. But I mean, I think as an adult, yeah, I've experienced more of catching things out of the corner of my eye. Like again, and you question yourself. You're like, is it me? Like,
Yeah.
like, am I going crazy? Like,
Well, that solidified it for me. So it was funny because the next day I was hanging out with my downstairs neighbors who had lived in the house for over 10 years at that point. And I told them about what happened. And they go, "Oh, you met Gloria."
oh, get
I
the hell
said,
out of here.
"Gloria?" They go, "Oh, yeah, we see her walking up the basement stairs and down our hallway all the time." They go, "She literally, you just see her walking up the stairs right down the hallway and then she disappears and that's it. And that's the only thing that happens." And I said,
When
"All
you,
right,
when
that's
you
cool.
name the spirit, there's a problem.
She's got a name. Got a name."
No, thank you. I
They
mean,
made her too comfortable.
oh yeah. I mean, I said that. So this is not my story. This is my father. My father, gave me a story. It's like that. It's similar to that. It's like you see something, but you're not sure what you saw. Now, my dad, he told me this story. He said when he was about like 7 or 8, he lived up near Westwood, New Jersey, and in I'm not gonna date my dad, but he there wasn't like ShopRites and Wegmans around all the time. It was like the local farm stand. So he told me that him and his family went to a local farm stand, and on the road back there was like this house that he said resembled the Adams family house. So it was like probably scary. And he said he never ever saw anybody at this house ever. He said we went to this farm stand, once a week for years. And he said he never saw anybody there, never saw them doing work on the lawn. He said it was always like overgrown. But he said this one time that he was driving back with his family, he said he looked at the house like he normally did because it was, a scary house, I guess, to him. And he said he saw this old woman in a rocking chair, rocking back and forth, like not scary looking, but he said, she kind of resembled, like, I mean, he said she resembled the Wicked Witch of the West or
No,
whatever.
thank you.
But
That's bizarre.
so he said this road that they would take, it like kind of curved around the house. So you got like both the front and side back, views of the house. And he said before he went to go tell his parents about it, and he looked back, and where the old lady was in the rocking chair, she was on the other side of the house doing the exact same motion. And I was like, what? He goes, it was impossible for her to have run over there with the chair, get in the exact same position, and be doing it. He goes, and then after that, he never saw that that I guess entity or spirit ever again.
That is weird.
That would freak me out. Like I would be like, like that's what you question. You question yourself. You're like, did I really see that? Or maybe I'm seeing it wrong. I said, it's his story. I wish I would have been there to see it, but I mean, I remember. He told me that. He said it really startled him. So, I mean, I don't know.
I have one more
Go ahead. Oh, yeah,
that just popped into my head.
Absolutely.
We used to visit my great grandmother out in Pennsylvania a lot when we were kids, and it was a really cute old house there that she had lived in since the beginning of time. And I remember one night waking up off the couch and getting up to go upstairs to go to bed. And as I was walking past the bathroom, I saw a flash of light, sort of like someone took a picture, and a bright flash of light. But I just woke up, I was just like, maybe it's my eyes adjusting. I didn't think much of it. So I'm walking up the stairs. I go in the bedroom. I close the door. We had little cots set up on the beds or on the floor for the kids while my mom and stepdad had the beds. So I'm on the floor and I could see under the door.
Oof.
Yeah. So I laid down, and probably about 2 minutes after I laid down, I started to hear footsteps up the stairs.
Nope.
And I'm like, okay, I thought it was my brother coming to bed because my brother was also asleep on the couch.
Yeah.
And then I hear the footsteps approaching the door, and I see a black little shadow, sort of like the shadow of footsteps, like kind of approaching under the door. And then it
No
just
way.
stops.
Nah,
And
I'm
it
good.
just stopped.
See, because I wouldn't be able to fall asleep after that.
Well, I after a few minutes when my brother obviously did not come in the room to go to bed, I woke my mom up and I said, "Mom, did someone die in this house?" And she goes, "Oh yeah. Yeah,
Oh, all nonchalant.
your great grandma's sister died in the bathroom."
It's like Final Fantasy.
I said, "Oh, well that explains quite a bit." Um that was really the only like experience that I had in that house, but it was a creepy one for
Yeah.
sure. It stuck with me.
Yeah, I mean, I said I really don't know what these spirits or ghosts really are. I mean, honestly, I mean, I believe that there is an afterlife. There's got to be something. I mean, if not, then maybe it's a computer simulation. Simulation. It's like the Matrix. But I'll tell you a sweet story. I said this is really. I remember the story because it was sweet, but it also kind of freaked me out. So, my grandmother and grandfather lived down in like Tom's River, and my grandfather had passed away, and so my grandmother was by herself, and unfortunately, my grandmother suffered from Alzheimer's, and so she would always ask for my grandfather, you know, and my mom would always have to kind of like remind her, so it was always heartbreaking to see that. But when my grandmother and grandfather had this unbreakable bond. Like it was very sweet. And it was like that elderly couple bond. Like, you know, you're there for life. And my as my grandmother got older and she started, you know, Alzheimer's got worse. My mom had gotten her a live-in aide. And the live-in aide said this when my grandmother died. And I it's the sweetest story. And she said that when my grandmother was on her deathbed, the aide was next to her, and she said that my grandmother was like mumbling and just like talking to herself and blah blah blah, and you know, nothing coherent. And she said right before she passed away, as clear as a bell, she looked right towards the door, eyes wide open, and she said, "Christopher, I'm coming. I'll be right there." And the homemaid said she took two more breaths and just passed on. And I was like my grandfather literally came and knew she was passing and like came and was like,
Took her
you're
home.
coming with me."
Mm-hmm.
But I remember the aide said she goes as clear as a bell, like was mumbling all before that, nothing you could really hear, but her eyes lit up. She got this like this bright like look on her face, and she said, "Christopher, I'm coming. I'll be right there." Like she knew. And so I mean, I don't know what spirits are. I said they don't always have to be bad. I mean, I said whatever happens after you pass on. I mean, you maybe you go to another dimension. Maybe you're locked on where you are. I mean,
Yeah, I
I
think
don't know.
I look back to Gloria. She was definitely stuck in a loop. But then I think about the house with the basement. That was something. There was something really dark and something. The energy with there was just too dark to be anything
Oh
good
yeah.
at all.
I mean, it really is one of those things that you know you just can't. I don't think we're supposed to be able to comprehend it. I mean, it really is. But I mean, I said sometimes it's a bad feeling, and I think we both experience those. And I think sometimes it can be a very, you know, innocent, sweet feeling that you like a warming sensation. I said Gloria probably was like a warm sensation, like when
Mm-hmm.
she was around. But that basement was like, yeah, stay down here a little bit longer. Let's see what happens if the lights go
Stay
out.
and play.
Oh yeah,
No, thank you.
exactly.
So, then I think about like the don'ts. Like, what are
Oh
you not supposed to do to
yeah.
invite ghosts? Like, obviously, Ouija boards, right? That's one we think
Yep.
of
Yep. You
the
don't.
most.
I'm saying you don't do this, and you don't do. I mean, I remember as a kid, my brother tried getting me to go into the bathroom and say Bloody Mary three times in front
No,
of the mirror,
nope.
and he said, "You see what happens when you get in there." It's like, yeah, you know, of course he left the room and wanted me to do it, so whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I'm like, you just don't invite this stuff into your life. I mean, I said that before. I said I don't like these paranormal movies or things like that. I mean, they really. I said you just don't mess with this kind of stuff. We don't understand it. Don't mess with it.
Shout out to my mom for making me watch Blair Witch Project as a kid and then go do laundry in that creepy basement.
She was toughening you up.
Mom, that's a don't.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. There's like, I mean, I always heard you don't go to a graveyard at certain times and days and stuff like that. I mean, I said
I broke all those rules as a
no,
kid.
no wonder you had so many spirits
It's probably
following you
why
around.
I used to go. There was this cemetery in south side of Chicago called Bachelor's Grove. It's known as being one of the most haunted cemeteries in the country, and it's back in the woods. You have to like follow a trail to go deep into the woods. It's beautiful in its own way, but like I've gone there in the day, I've gone there in the middle of the night. Middle of the night, you just feel the hair stick up on the back of your neck the whole time you're there. Like, or as soon as you get there, and I'm sure there's part you're in a cemetery, middle of the night. It's creepy, but there is it's an experience.
Well, I mean, it's no different when I was a kid. Like my mom took us to like Gettysburg and stuff like that. And I mean, they say that, if you go at a certain day or certain hours, you can see flashes and like you see images. I mean, I've seen those videos, and I mean, some of those videos you're like, what was that?" And
Hmm.
I mean, it's so. I mean, it just, I guess maybe spirits do get locked in a loop. And I mean, I've heard multiple stories where people say, these spirits come through and they're asking questions, from their life, and you're responding in yours, but it's like it doesn't match up. It's like, I mean, the same thing with the Civil Wars things. I mean, these reenactors, I've heard some stories where they say like they've seen full people walk up and
Yeah,
ask
full
questions,
apparitions and like totally like
ask a question,
engage with them.
and they answer them. They'll go, because they're asking a question about like the Civil War, and they think that they're play acting. So like, oh yeah, they're in regiment blah 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 over by the bridge, and the person walks away, and like they go, oh, is somebody else
And they
here?
vanish.
Yeah, is somebody else here this weekend? They're like, oh no, it was just you guys. It's like, wait, wait, what? No thanks. I'm out. I was like, that'd be the last time I was doing a Civil War enactment. I'm like, I'm out, guys. I was like, this was fun, but we're done.
We're done.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I hope you guys enjoyed some of the stories that we shared. I know they may not have been the scariest, but write into us. Let us hear some of your stories.
I want to
mean,
hear your spooky
oh,
stories. I love it. I eat it up.
absolutely, absolutely. Especially with like if you have like either your kids or when you were a kid. I mean, those are the ones that really make the hairs on the back of your neck raise. But uh, yeah, I mean, I really appreciate everything that you guys are supporting with us. So,
Yeah, thanks for listening in.
and once again, we're dropping the mic.
We out.